Blog Talk Radio.
Come, little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment. Come, little children, the time's come to play here in my garden of shadow.
Welcome to Paranormal Geeks Radio. It is March 11th, 2014. I still have to stop every once in a while and think, what is it, 13, 14? Are we up to 15 yet? I don't know where we're at. I'm going to go with the lower date, the lower year, because I don't want to get up into the higher years. And again, welcome to Paranormal Geeks Radio. I'm your host, Jim Heater. I have a very good show planned for you tonight. It's going to be eye-opening and thought-provoking and all those good words. I want to talk a little bit at the very beginning, of course, about the Star Works Symposium up in Elmhurst, Illinois. It is May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and like I say, in Elmhurst. It's going to be highlighting the 2006 O'Hare Airport UFO sighting. And I'm just going to go ahead and read the press release for this that Paula Harris put out. It says the Star Works USA UFO Symposium brings together the leading media personalities and investigative journalists in the area of UFO research. The third annual symposium will be held at Elmhurst, Illinois. The event will be moderated by former CNN anchor Cheryl Jones. The first Star Works USA Symposium, held in Glen Rose, Texas, was the first UFO conference to feature all women presenters. The second symposium, Look Into the Stars, was held in Sebring, Florida. This year's symposium will be held at the Clarion and Waterford Conference Center and promises to be another spectacular event featuring world-renowned experts in media and UFO research. Event highlights include the Black and White Media Mixer, a meet-and-greet cocktail party with presenters, and the screening of Out of the Blue, followed by a Q&A with director James Fox. A discussion panel, Lights in the Sky, Lies on the Ground, with pilots and media representatives Steve Allen from the Stevensville Lights, Jim Current, a commercial airline pilot, Lee Spiegel from the Huffington Post, Chase Klotsky, who was on the show last month, author of Admissible, the Field Manual for Investigating UFOs, Jim Heater, Paranormal Geeks Radio, and Scott Colburn from KZUM in Nebraska. Like I say, this will be on May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at the Clarion Inn and Waterford Conference Center in Elmhurst, Illinois. The cost for that 3-day event is only $150. Which is a good price, and everybody should look into coming to that if you're in the Chicago area, or if you have the time off and some extra airline miles to fly into O'Hare. Also, I'd like to talk to you about an email that I got today from MUFON, and it tells me about the UFO reports by country. And if you want a copy of this, send me an email at jimheater@hotmail.com. Jim Heater, my name, at hotmail.com, and I will send you a copy of this. Or you can go to the MUFON website, which is MUFON.com, and go to the Search the UFO database. And it's located under the Research tab, and you can get the same information. But for the month of February, there were a total of 512 sightings in the world. Of course, the United States came in number one at 432 sightings, Canada at 29, and the UK at 15. By state, of course, California always has the most at 59. Some of the other states out here, from some listeners that are out here, Arizona had 21, New Jersey didn't make the list, didn't make the cut. Well, they had to. There's strange things in the skies in New Jersey, but I don't see it. I know we have listeners down in Florida. They always have sightings in Florida. Well, they always do, but I don't see any on this list. Wow. Illinois had 11. My friends in Indiana, you guys only had 6. so you're going to have to keep looking to the skies. But the top five, or the top three, California at 59. Well, there was Florida, number 2 at 39. Texas at 29. So it's 59, 39, 29. New York came in at 26. And they came in number 5. So take a look at this, and like I say, if you want a copy of this, send me an email and I'll send it to you. Or better yet, like I said, go to the MUFON website and search out the search for UFO database, and you'll get all this information. It's a very, I don't belong to MUFON, but I get a lot of their mailing and stuff. It's an interesting read if you're into the UFO stuff, like I am, and seems like a little bit everybody is that has an open mind. Well, tonight's guests, I have Miss Marie Jones and Mr. Larry Flaxman. They are the authors of the book called Viral Mythology. It's how the truth of the ancients was encoded and passed down through legend, art, and architecture. This is going to be a very good show. I would really like for people, if you have any questions at all, to call in. It's going to make you. This show's going to make you start thinking about some things that I don't even think that we've talked about before or thought about. Okay, so I'd go ahead and like to bring on the guests, Marie and Larry. Welcome to Paranormal Geeks Radio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm getting that feedback again real bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to try something on my end. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm not. Well, that didn't work at all. Okay. Anyway, like I say, welcome, guys, to Paranormal Geeks Radio. We'll start with Marie. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, boy. Just a writer. Been writing all my life, and I've written, gosh, how many books now? I forget. I think I'm on 13. Writing a lot of nonfiction, now getting into fiction and doing some more film writing, and just a long time fascination with the paranormal and metaphysics and UFOs and all that kind of stuff. Daughter of a scientist, and my mom was an artist, so I kind of got the best of both worlds growing up. And I've been writing with Larry. Yeah, I've been writing with Larry for, we're going on 7 years now. And it's been interesting. We've done a lot of really unusual stuff together. I don't think either one of us ever thought we would. So.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Now, Larry, tell us a bit about yourself. I know you're down in Arkansas, correct?
I am. Yeah, I'm actually a native East Coaster. I've been in Arkansas for 25 years now, so I guess I could call myself an Arkansan, an adopted Arkansan, I guess.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, I know. That's a hard question, huh?
Yeah, I always hate that when someone says, tell us about yourself.
I'm sorry. Well, I know you have a paranormal group. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
I do. Well, my group is called RPAST. It's the Arkansas Paranormal and Anomalous Studies Team, and we are one of the few legitimate science organizations that actually investigate claims of the paranormal. Of course, you hear all the time groups claiming that they follow science or that they're scientific groups or they, follow scientific methodology. But then when you actually dig into it and you start talking, you start asking some very pointed questions, you quickly find out that that's not necessarily the case. But my group actually does. We have probably the largest equipment inventory of any group in the country. We have a little over $250,000 worth of equipment. We have consultants on staff that are physicists. We've got engineers. We have very specific subject matter experts in basically every discipline that you can imagine that we are able to call on and utilize in our research. We do basically the fancy environmental analysis of a paranormal event. Since we don't know exactly what constitutes paranormal, or what other than the fact that we know that it's something that's outside of the current realm of scientific understanding, we focus on studying the things that we do know, the things that we are certain of, which is things in our physical environment. So we have a lot of specialized equipment that we've designed to allow us to monitor. And we have right now there's about 180 different points of data that we look at for each different aspect of the environment for an investigation. But we bring that to the table. My background is in hard science as well. I've had an intense interest in all of these topics, whether it's anything mysterious, whether it's ufology, Egyptology, paranormal investigation, anything that is an unexplained or that has possible alternate explanations. I have had an intense interest for as long as I can remember. And I guess my focus on the paranormal is really what led me to Marie, and it's also kind of guided much of my life's work. Certainly as I've gotten older, as most of us have gotten older, probably the realization of our own mortality starts to set in, and we start thinking about the next steps, and that certainly is one of my guiding compass. That is certainly my guiding compass as far as the research that I'm invested in and very interested in conducting.
Wow, I'd love that. So you have a web page. I posted it in our chat. Does your group have a website?
Yeah, our website is www.arpast.org, rpast.org. Currently we've got about 940 pages on the website. It's a tremendous portal for science, the scientific connection to the paranormal. We've got articles and all kinds of stuff that you won't find anyplace else on our website.
Excellent. And how did you get interested in the paranormal?
Well, like I said, I think it was very much an organic transformation from all of the other topics that I've had a very strong interest in. The paranormal side of things has really been a primary focus just due to the fact that, I've started seeing friends and family pass away, and I've started to experience significant loss, and that's certainly a guiding question that probably most of us have at one point or another. Will we be reunited with these people? Will we get to see them again? Will they look the same? Will they talk the same? What happens next? Will I get another chance basically to right all of the wrongs that I've done? All the people that I've screwed over in this life, do I get kind of a second chance to make it right? So that's really my interest in the paranormal side of things. It's not to hunt ghosts. I absolutely can't stand that term. It's not to chase ghosts. It's nothing like that. It's really to explain something to me for a very to me, it's an extremely selfish rationale or reason why I'm interested in this, and that's because I want to know. And for me wanting to know, I have no problem certainly with putting that information out and making it publicly available once I know. But my goal is I want to know for myself. That's it. That's kind of that's it. That's my onus. I want to know what happened. It's not to educate. That's certainly a secondary function. It is to determine for myself what happens.
Well, yeah, it's not to go out and get scared or see who can get the best EVP or who can make the best YouTube video out of what you got. You're out there looking for answers to your questions.
Yeah, and it's kind of a sore point when you kind of talk about the paranormal, because there's kind of a divergent split as far as I'm concerned. Now, I've been in the paranormal for over 20 years, and I've seen the ups and downs. There's the peaks and valleys, certainly, that are in this field. And to me there's kind of a divergent line that's drawn in the sand between the serious, actually there's three different lines, I guess you could say. There's the serious folks that actually have the scientific knowledge and they actually have the educational background to understand what they're attempting to study. The second line are the folks that really want to do it. They want to understand, but they don't have that educational underpinning, that infrastructure in place. They don't have the networking with other peers. They don't have professional networking. They don't have resources that are more knowledgeable than themselves, other than they watch the TV shows, which are a whole other topic. And then you get the third line, that as far as I'm concerned, the third line is purely social. And there are many, many groups that are out there. I've been a guest on several investigations with groups that are primarily interested in going out, scaring the crap out of each other, drinking, having a good time, using it for some type of a social hookup. It's stuff like that really disgusts me, because I want serious answers, and that's my motivation for this field. So I have a hard time with reconciling the fact that there are other people that are out there that claim that they want answers, but yet they really have ulterior motives as far as is evident. So exactly. It's very frustrating to see that. Most groups that are out there, when you start a group, the first thing that they go out and do is you go get your black T-shirts, of course, with your logos on them. You start your Facebook fan page and your YouTube fan channel. You go out, you do an investigation, you capture dust, probably an orb, or you capture something that you can't explain. Doesn't mean that it's not paranormal, but you don't have the background to fully debunk or explain what it is. You post it up on Facebook or YouTube, and you slap your little logo on it, claiming it is the best evidence of a full-body apparition ever. And, of course, you're out there trying to get your TV show, and that, to me, it's really disgusting to see that. I mean, it's an unfortunate part of this culture, but it's not making it easy for those of us that are serious about this field. When people see, some of those folks, I mean, it's automatically you're lumped into that same category. And, again, my group, we are not ghost hunters. We don't hunt ghosts. We don't investigate ghosts. We investigate using scientific methodology and means. We investigate anomalous phenomena. There's a difference, and it's not just verbiage.
You're absolutely right. It is. There is. Well, I admire you. I really I agree with everything you're saying. I wish I had the means to have the equipment you do. But it's maybe somewhere down the road I can do this. I can do this too. But do you do a lot of what do I want? Do you do any residentials, or people call on you to do their houses? We operate almost 100% on referrals. In fact, we had a meeting last Friday, and that was one of our points of discussion, was whether we wish to continue offering our services to private residences. And I'm kind of split in my opinion, and here's why. Okay.
Half of the people that contact us, first of all, there's no follow-through. I mean, half of these people seem to just be flakes. They will send the initial email, and then they just have a change of heart. They flake out. They decide they don't want to go through with it. Then you've got, maybe not half, I'd say that's a quarter. Then, you've got your other significant number of folks that contact you because they think automatically, that they're going to get on a TV show, or that this is going to help, make them famous by utilizing their misfortune, or whatever you want to call it. But then you have a very small percentage that I think truly are legitimate, and the very small percentage are the ones that I'm very interested in trying to help. Now, the helping aspect, I think, goes way beyond just going out to a house and looking for ghosts, as most paranormal groups do. To me, helping really encompasses a much broader scope than simply that. Many times we'll go out to a location, a private residence, and we'll talk to the people. I mean, that's what most people want, is they want someone to listen to them. I can't tell you how many people that I've come in contact with that simply want someone to talk to. And so not only are you playing scientist at some of these investigations, but you're also playing psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor. You know, you're having to put on many different hats. It's very much a multifaceted type approach to this. And, you know, that's another concern of mine with a lot of paranormal groups. You know, they're going out and they may have the greatest intentions in the world, but if you're dealing with an individual perhaps that has a serious, significant psychological disorder, they may not know exactly how to handle that person. So in many cases, and I've seen this with my group, many cases they make it even worse. You know, they'll get the individual stirred up. They won't say the proper thing to calm the person down. And it's, you know, like kicking the hornet's nest, really. So we have to go in then and try to clean it up and try to calm the person down and you know, reconcile their experiences with, first of all, common sense, and then second of all, try to find a prosaic or rational explanation for what is actually occurring to these folks. So in answer to your question, I really want to reduce the number of private investigations we do. This year, in fact, we've begin to do so because I don't want to focus on private residences. To me, as a scientist, I would much rather focus on locations that we have repeated access to, locations that we are able to control the environment. So you go into a person's private residence, you can't tell them not to move any furniture or you know, not to change the thermostat. So the next time you come in, it's exactly the same environmental conditions. You can't do that. But if you have a historic location or you have a place that you have repeated access to where you have somewhat more granular control, it's much better and it fits much more integrally within the scientific method. Very, very difficult, if not impossible, to reduce any kind of variables in a private residence versus if you go into a museum, you pretty much know the next time you come to the museum or other historical location, it's going to be exactly the same as it was 3 months ago, which is ideal for us. So, yes, we do private residences, but it's certainly not a focus.
I know exactly what you mean, too, because we've been burned on so many things. Going into somebody's house, the water heater clicks on, and the lady says, that was one of the noises I was telling you about. Well, that's your water heater. One of my team members catching one of the people that live there scratching themselves. Look what happened to me. Yeah, and Jim over here just saw that. And then you have this, like you were talking about cleaning up after other teams. You have the teams that go out there as well. I'm not 100% sure what it is. So you know what? It must be a demon.
Yeah.
And then these people have the D word stuck in their head. And, you know, all is lost for them because they have a freaking demon in their house. Those people I just want to line up against the wall and shoot.
Now, you know, there's been several private residences where I've truly believed that we've helped. And that's good stuff. I mean, that's what, you know, that makes me feel good at the end of the day is if I can legitimately help someone to help quell their fears or to make them more comfortable in a situation. But unfortunately, that is the minority of folks that contact us rather than the majority. So if I truly believe that there is some value to doing a private residence, we'll do it. Maybe not from the scientific perspective, but from certainly the humanistic perspective. If I can help someone, I'll certainly do it. But I'm not going to waste my time with the crazies.
Exactly. Yeah, life's too short. You got other things to do, and gas is too expensive to drive there.
Absolutely.
I definitely understand. I do understand. And Marie, you're part of this group, aren't you? In a long distance kind of way.
I mean, Larry and I talk all the time about theories and ways and ideas and concepts that his group can go out and sort of put out in the field and see if there's anything to them. You know, it's hard. I mean, I'm all the way across the country, but because we're always writing and we're always researching and talking, we come up with ideas, and it's really great that he's got this resource that can go out and test some of these ideas and then come back and say, you know what, there might be something to that. Let's tweak that a little. And really, some of our books, I think, have, I know the Resonance Key and certainly the Grid have really come out of the constant questioning that he and I have back and forth about, you know what, I wonder if some of these ideas that we're having are workable out in the field. And so, you know, he'll go out and he'll do all kinds of stuff. He's the technology guy and the equipment, you know, that's just not my thing. In fact, Larry will tell you when it comes to technology. But it's really good because we can come up with these theories and the ideas together that then can possibly go out and be proven as fact or disproven, or even just getting more pieces of the puzzle out in the field with real people in real locations. And so that's really cool.
Exactly.
You know, and a lot of the groups, Larry was talking about the groups that, you know, claim to be quote-unquote scientific, and of course they're nothing of the sort. They waste so much time and I think it's kind of changing. I don't see it as much, but they go out in the field and they do investigation after investigation, or ghost hunt, whatever you want to call it. Never do these people take the time, though, to sit down and try to come up with an actual idea as to what it is they're looking for, or why they're getting some of the results they are. I mean, there seems to be very little after discussion that goes on, and it's more just the social thing and just going out and pretending that you're advancing the field of the paranormal when really you're not.
Well, and Marie, I think part of the problem with that is, as I spoke about before, there's really kind of a disconnect in educational levels between the groups. I mean, most paranormal groups are just kind of mom and pop shops. You know, it's a husband and wife, or it's a bunch of friends that get together, purchase some of their equipment maybe off of eBay. They watch shows on TV and mimic the equipment that they see on TV, and automatically think that because they've watched 4 episodes of Most Haunted that they're automatically paranormal investigators.
Right.
So, you know, I think the whole idea of peer review and certainly any of the concepts and tenets of scientific methodology, I mean, it's not something that they're even remotely familiar with.
Right. And it's boring. It's boring to talk about theories and ideas. It's boring to come up with a workable hypothesis that you can then go and try to prove out in the field. It's boring to brainstorm and sit around the table, and I understand that. It's more fun to go into an old abandoned building that for some reason is alleged to be haunted and, you know, have a good time. But the problem is that if that's all you ever do, then all we have is a bunch of data. It's not evidence by any means. We just have a bunch of data with nobody who's taking the time to try to find correlations and commonalities and, you know, eliminate certain things. And there are very few groups doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's I know that my paranormal, the spirit research part of my interest came a long time ago, you know, by reading Hans Holzer's book back when I was, I guess, probably in junior high or something, maybe even younger than that. Of course, I didn't understand it. I had to read it like 3 times, but and that's how, you know, I know a lot of people got their start, cut their teeth with that book. But nowadays, everybody's cutting their teeth with ghost adventures or tax or something, you know, and they're getting a completely wrong idea about this. Mm-hmm. Well, in my opinion. Now, I know, Larry, you worked on an episode of Ghost Lab. Am I right?
I've been on Ghost Lab, which, you know, that was a unique show, and it certainly, I didn't agree with all of the methods that they used. I really had a problem, especially with the provoking. But, you know, to me, it was probably one of the more realistic shows that are out there. Certainly, if you compare that with some of the other shows, it didn't have as much theatrical content. Now, you know, when people do these paranormal shows, unfortunately, the vast majority of the public believe that these are kind of documentaries in a way. They don't realize that these shows actually are in fact simply for entertainment. None of the shows on TV bill themselves as scientific documentaries. And as a show that is providing entertainment, they have certain things that must be met for the network. For instance, advertising. That's a biggie right there. You know, the network basically sustains the show via advertising. Now, if you have a show that's boring, if you have a show that actually shows how boring paranormal investigation is, people wouldn't watch it.
Exactly.
And if people didn't watch it, they wouldn't see the ads, they wouldn't buy the products, the cycle ends. So the shows that you see today, they're fun. We all watch them. We all, I enjoy watching them, not to learn anything, but just as an entertainment piece. The shows today are just for that. I mean, don't look at the shows on TV and think that these are teaching individuals the proper methods to investigate. They're not. The shows on TV are trying to elicit a response, and if that requires any type of post-production editing or adding in effects, they will do it, and it's been done. It's been documented and done hundreds and hundreds of times because it adds to the appeal.
Right, and it sells advertising, and that's really the key, is that you've got to sell that advertising. But, I mean, the only benefit, we've talked about this a million times, the benefit is that it's definitely brought the paranormal mainstream, but I think that's also been a problem. It's been sort of a curse and a blessing, because by mainstreaming it, you have so many more people who just come at it from a very sort of half-ass position, and it waters down the quality information and the quality research that people are trying to do. So it's it's been a blessing and a curse.
But to a serious investigator, these shows are more of a what not to do than what to do.
Right.
Well, and I think you'll find if you poll the serious investigators, I would hasten to say that most of them probably do not watch the shows. And if they do, it's simply like me, just for entertainment.
Yeah. Well, the thing I liked about Ghost Lab was they thought outside the box. They used some interesting technology. The main thing though is that they thought outside the box. They weren't afraid to try new things. I don't think I ever saw them use the Maglite deal, which all shows seemed. Exactly. They knew where to stop. They knew what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. Anyway, it's off my soapbox, but like I say, they're more of what not to do than what to do. With your team being in Arkansas, that's a pretty central place where you can head north, south, east, west. I thought Central Illinois was that's where I'm at, about 130 miles straight south of Chicago. I thought I was pretty centrally located, but with Arkansas, you can hit a lot of places.
Oh, absolutely.
Pretty centrally located. What would you say was your most interesting investigation? I know you've probably heard that question 1,000 times, but I'm going to ask you 1,001.
For certain, for me, it's I won't say the name of the place, but it's a location here in Arkansas that is very much unknown outside of the state of Arkansas, but it's one of the largest tuberculosis sanatoriums in the country. There were 10,000 people that died here, which is significantly more than many of the other, quote, famous sanatoriums that are investigated on TV. Every time I've gone to this place, I've had some very unusual experiences. Here in my own backyard, basically, is probably one of the greatest places. And I've been very fortunate to travel as much as I have, and I've been able to go to some really spectacular locations. And that's kind of another thing. A lot of the paranormal groups, probably most paranormal groups, think that they have to go someplace that is spooky. They have to go someplace that, has a reputation. People have died there. It's an old building. dark and creaky, and
right.
it's just overall creepy. Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case either. First of all, one of my big pet peeves is the idea of having to investigate lights off in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah, where does
do you
start?
really think that ghosts, are not going to? Do you think they just dislike light? Are they vampires? Are they only going to come out in the dark? That's a big issue. But
you have to wonder if that
comes,
though, Larry, from like the old haunted house movies, and if it just came straight out of fiction, the idea that a haunted house has to be at night with thunder and lightning, and
I think it's absolutely. I think it's because of the psychological aspect. I think it's psychological, and of course there's folks that are out there that'll tell you, well, we do investigations at night because it's the time of the evening where the electromagnetic pollution in the environment is at its lowest. And the reason why we turn the lights off is to enable our equipment to be able to discern things at a lower level. Well, so here's my response to that, okay? Basically, we are living in a society now that is constantly connected, 24/7, 365. There is crap floating throughout all hours of the night. We've got microwave. We've got EMF, VLF, ELF. We've got every type of high-frequency and low-frequency energy. There's Wi-Fi. There's television. There's AM. There's FM. Single sideband. I mean, there's every type of frequency, and it's 24 hours a day. There is not a cutoff where that stuff just stops at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock, and then, okay, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, now we can investigate because everything's shut down. That's not the way it is. So Marie and I wrote about this, actually, in our book, The Grid, and I present about the idea of why 3 a.m. You talk to most paranormal groups, and they'll tell you that 3 a.m. is the witching hour. It's the best time to investigate. You've got to go out and investigate. And in fact, there's a lot of urban legends of locations that seem to exhibit the most activity around 3 a.m. Well, one of the things that we found when we did research on the topic was that there are several significant things that actually happen within the human body around that time. First of all, your vitamin A, B, and D levels take a dump. So your ability to function at 100% levels is at an all-time low. So you've got cognition issues that occur. You have very much slowed reactions. You're tired. You have a lot of things that are going on in your brain soup around 3 a.m. Melatonin actually is released around 3 a.m. From the suprachiasmatic portion of the brain. So melatonin, you know what melatonin does, right? People take melatonin to help them sleep. It helps modulate certain hormones in the brain to help you relax more. So your brain naturally produces higher levels of that around the 3 a.m. time. So what we believe is happening, and I think science absolutely backs this up, is the idea that physiologically 3 a.m. is probably the worst time to investigate because you are not operating at your peak potential. You are absolutely being manipulated by environmental and basically any external stimulus is going to manipulate you in a way that it wouldn't at 10 a.m. or 11 o'clock in the morning. But a lot of groups, think that that's just the greatest thing because they want to get scared. They want to have those types of experiences. Of course,
exactly.
And Marie we both can talk for hours about the idea of the conscious connection, the idea of that we are an integral part of the equation. What we consider to be ghosts and spirits and all of the paranormal things, there may very well be, but at the same time, there is a common denominator that's present in every single paranormal event. There's one common thing that is present in every reported paranormal phenomena. You know what that is?
Nope.
It's you. It's the observer. There is always a human being that's involved with that, and we wrote very detailed information about the observer effect and how just the simple act of observation, whether you see something with your eyes, the observation from the perspective of you being aware of something changes the outcome. There's a very famous experiment called the double slit experiment that your listeners can Google if they want to read more about that. But basically the idea revolves around the fact that the observation by a human of something changes the outcome. So just by the very fact of us looking for ghosts and looking for spirits and investigating these things, there certainly is science to back up the idea that we are also influencing the result. We are manipulating what it is that we actually experience. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
You're exactly right. I know now as soon as the show's over, I got to change some things on my website. I have to take the word scientific out.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, the reason I'm going to tell you my reasoning that I even put that in there is, I don't use Ouija boards. Don't use don't use any of this stuff. I'm not a fan of like the Frank box, the deals that scan radio frequencies and get you words and crap. I'm not a big fan of that. I do have an Ovilus because I got it for a really good price.
Uh-huh.
I almost stole the darn thing, but I don't use it. I mean, it's a parlor trick is all in my idea. So what I just really is just my EVPs. What I can pull out of those is the only reason I'm not that I say that we're scientific. But you are 100% right. And I'm embarrassed to even have that in my on my webpage now, so it's coming off tonight for sure.
Well, I don't mean to change anything. It's
no.
It's simply a matter of education. I think it's okay if you want to follow scientific method, but do a little research into it. Find out exactly what it actually means, because it's like I said, it's not just a term. I mean, it's basically a complete methodology change for most groups, and most groups are actually, the structure of the groups are not able to support the idea of a very significant infrastructure change like that. I mean, it requires many things that most groups really have no experience in, things like controlling the environment, reproducibility, peer review. Now, that's a big one. There are very few groups that are out there that actually conduct legitimate peer review. And by peer review, I don't mean throwing up your photo on eBay or on Facebook with your logo on it, claiming it as evidence. Legitimate peer review, I'll give you an example of legitimate peer review. So at this large tuberculosis sanatorium that I referred to earlier, I had an experience which it would take me 20 minutes to explain, so I'm not going to explain the whole thing. But needless to say, we got what we believe to be a full-bodied apparition on one of our FLIR thermal cameras. So all of my members that utilize that piece of equipment are FLIR thermography certified. I make sure that we all go through the training so we all understand the difference between reflectivity and emissivity and all of the different aspects of using a thermal camera. None of us could explain it. Now, we've all been through basically FLIR 101, the very basic class that they offer. None of us could explain it. So what do? We look for people that are much more knowledgeable than us. We actually found individuals that's what they do, is they train very high-end and advanced thermography use, and we let them take a look at the picture because we couldn't figure it out. Now, how many other groups do you know of that when they take a photo, now whether you want to say it's because of ego or distrust, or we don't even have to get into all that, but how many groups do you know that actually will send a photo to a more knowledgeable source? I don't know of any, really. I mean, there's probably a few that might. There's a lot of ego in this field, and I'm sure that probably plays into it. And no one wants to give away what they perceive might be the next greatest thing. God forbid that it helps to advance mankind at the expense of not advancing them. But that's part of the scientific process. You have to have peer review. You have to allow others to critique your work. You have to allow others the opportunity to either refute or posit your hypothesis, and that just does not happen, unfortunately.
No, and you know, it is the ego part. Well, a lot of it is. I would say 90% of it's ego. But you know, the thing that really just gripes my butt is when people post pictures, say on Facebook, and you start, it's of an orb, and you ask them, you know, well, I see snow on the ground. Was it snowing? No, it wasn't. Well, was the wind blowing? No, it's an orb. Well, they don't even they're so dead set, and that's what it is. They're not looking at anything around it, what may have caused this camera flash, this round spot in there. They know it's Uncle Louie, and it can't be that the ceiling fan was on and they haven't dusted in 3 months.
Sure.
Well, it's people like that just gripe my behind. Listen, you have to take off here, don't you?
I do, yeah, in just a few minutes, yeah.
All right. Well, I want
leaving you in the capable hands of Miss Marie.
Yay!
Oh yes. Oh yeah, she's still here. That's right.
I think she fell asleep. Marie, did you fall asleep?
I think so.
Maybe she did. Yeah, I think I bored her.
Well, before you take off, you want to the book that you guys have written, this Viral Mythology. I don't know if you have enough time or not, but can you give our guests a little bit of a book? What's this book about?
Viral Mythology. Well, the book is basically about the idea of how information spreads virally. Throughout history, there have been many examples of cultures that are braided by very, very large geographic spans, language barriers, cultural barriers that seem to have been able to pass information from one generation to the next. So our book really talks about the idea of how that information was transmitted. Now, obviously, back in 3, 4, 5 plus thousand years ago, we didn't have the internet, so the means of communicating information was much different than how we communicate it today. Back then, things were either done verbally, it was done either by writings in stone, by scroll work. I mean, it was legends passed down orally, oral traditions. So there was much different ways of how information was transmitted versus today. So that book kind of explores the history of communication, how some of these ideas may have been able to be communicated between generations like that. It was a very interesting book to write, especially if you have any interest in alternate theories, anything having to do with alternate timelines like Egypt, some of the extraterrestrial intervention stuff. I mean, we kind of talk about through some of those theories, but yeah, it was Marie. I'm sure is going to go into much more detail when I get off here about the book. But yeah, it's if you have not read it, I would definitely recommend it. It's a fascinating read.
Well, really, I mean, just looking through the part that's on Amazon where you can open up the book and look inside and stuff. There's so much. You guys cover so much. I mean, it's like in the index. I mean, it's all alphabetized, real easy to follow. You talk about things that I thought I knew a little bit about this stuff, but I mean, there's words in here that I'm never going to be able to pronounce. And but I'm glad I have Google.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks like it's just an amazing book. This is definitely going to have to be on one of my to-do lists or to my lists.
Definitely, I think you should. And since you have such an intense interest in the paranormal too, I would definitely recommend that you read not only our Grid book, which came out back in October, but also our book, The Resonance Key, our second book. All three of those books, I think, are and actually, do you run a group or do you just kind of hang around a group?
No, I run a group.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to give you probably the best advice that anyone could ever give you. read Marie's book, Science, P-S-I-E-N-C-E. That book was actually how we met. If you have not read her book, that is me, and that's in my very first email to Marie. I read her book, and I was blown away because, here I am reading something that's so far outside of what every other book about the paranormal talks about. So when I read her book, I was like, holy crap, this should be required reading. This should be, Ghost Hunting 101 or Paranormal Science 101. So that book really will give you a very basic, I shouldn't say basic because it goes into some very advanced quantum physics topics, but it will give you a very good beginning path to start on having your group really follow scientific methodology.
Yeah, I can get them. Maybe I'll be able to get them to come around. Well, we'll see. Yeah, Marie, this book came out, was it last year or was it 2012?
Which one? The Viral?
Yes. No.
No, actually, that just came out. Which one?
No, the Science.
Science. Oh,
yeah,
my gosh. No, that came out in 2007, I think, because that was how I met Larry.
I think it came, was it 2007 or 2006? Yeah, because I emailed you in 2007, so it must have been like late 2006.
Maybe 2006, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah, because I don't know if you remember, Marie, or last year I was going to have you on the show, and something happened where you had to cancel.
I remember.
Got to get her back on.
The thing is that I had always wanted to do an update to science, and after meeting Larry, it was like, it's like we got to write an update to this because in the field of theoretical and quantum physics, things are always changing. So really, what was great about meeting Larry is we got to write the resonance key and the grid, which I feel are like the two updates to science. And I know Larry has to jump off, but that was a cool book.
Well, Larry, I want to thank you very much for being on. I'd like to have you on again. We can just talk. We can just talk about this all night and get stir the pot some more. But it was a pleasure having you on for an hour. This was a very fast hour.
It was,
and I wish you luck. And again, it was very nice having you on the show.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It definitely went really fast.
Before you go, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about getting in touch with you?
Either one of my two websites. Well, there's three websites actually. My paranormal group is www.arpast.org, arpast.org. My website with Marie is paraexplorers.com, paraexplorers.com, and then my personal website is larryflaxman.com.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you again for being on tonight, and hope to have you back again.
Awesome. You guys have a great next hour.
We'll give it our best shot. Thanks again.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, I know that the chat room was just buzzing with, comments and stuff about this last hour. It was very, very cool. What we're going to do, we're going to take about a 8 to 10 minute break, whatever I have of music lined up here, and we'll be back with Marie Jones talking about her book, Viral Mythology. This is going to be fun, folks. Don't go too far.
To my love, took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can a child in my heart right above? Can I say you see my reflection in snow-covered hills where the landslide is bringing down, and if you see my reflection in snow-covered hills where the landslide is bringing down, oh, the landslide is bringing down.
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. I've still commitments, what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. We've known each other for so long. Your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say it. Inside we both know what's been going on. We know the game and we're gonna play it. And if you ask me how I'm feeling, don't tell me you're too blind to see. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Never gonna give, never gonna give, never gonna give, never gonna give. We've known each other for so long. Your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say it. Inside we both know what's been going on. We know the game and we're gonna play it. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you.
Are you an experienced ghost hunter or just ghost curious? In either case, on your next trip to beautiful Branson, Missouri, make sure you visit Ghosts of Branson. Hi, I'm Dr. Chuck Kennedy, owner of Ghosts of Branson, with over 40 years of experience as a paranormal investigator and an author of over a dozen books. I have personally scouted the best location in the Ozarks. Branson is the vacation capital of America. It is less than a one-day drive to one-third of the U.S. population, and at Ghosts of Branson, we have the ghost tour or investigation that is right for you. On all of our tours, each location is investigated and documented. You won't just hear stories and folklore. Using the night show technology, you will see the photographs and video and hear the EVPs that confirm each location is haunted. Are you a member of a group? Well, then check out our Ghost Hunters Getaway, a weekend to die for. 3 great days of ghost hunting events that you will never forget. So don't wait. Check out ghostsofbranson.com and book your tour or a weekend now. Remember, don't let your vacation be normal. Make it paranormal with Ghosts of Branson.
Hello, welcome back to Paranormal Geeks Radio. I'm your host, Jim Eager. For the first hour, we had Mr. Larry Flaxman on, and the second hour is going to be for our second guest, or our first guest. She's been on since we came on, Marie Jones. I want to let everybody know that the call in, if you have any questions tonight, which I do encourage you Paranormal Geeks, to call in. It's area code 347-826-9996. 347-826-9996. Now, on with the show. Marie, did you make it back? All right.
I'm here.
All right. Like I told you off the air at the beginning of the show, I heard you and your father, which you guys make a great group, by the way, on another radio show where you guys had written a book together called Super Volcano.
Mm-hmm.
You guys talked a lot about Yellowstone and the Ring of Fire and everything, which I eat that stuff up like biscuits and gravy. I just love that show. Actually, I downloaded it, and every once in a while I listen to it so I can keep up on all this stuff. But anyway,
scare yourself, huh?
Yeah, make me fear going to sleep at night or going to Yellowstone for sure. But one thing I wanted to talk about, something that's kind of a current event. This was last week, or no, it was Sunday night, I believe it was.
Yeah.
I believe it was Sunday night. There were 2 rather large earthquakes, one in northern California, up in Eureka, off the coast of Eureka, California, and the other one was down in Mexico, and I could not pronounce the name, so I'm not even going to try. But these 2 earthquakes were within minutes of each other. And there's also a real active volcano down in Mexico right now that's been, spouting off for quite a while. Do you see any correlation between these two earthquakes?
It's hard to say, and I'll try to speak from my dad's perspective because he was the genius, brilliant scientist. He was a geophysicist, and he had a background in seismology as well. And, we would talk about this stuff all the time, and I myself wanted to know, can an earthquake below the equator trigger one above? And, what you learn is that the Earth is really not as solid an object as people think. Everything is still in transition. There are large plates that are moving around very slowly, albeit. Mm-hmm. But so it is possible that maybe some activity at one end can somehow trigger activity at the other end, or it could be coincidental. The thing is those 2 earthquakes were located along the Ring of Fire, which is always active. And living here in Southern California, and just being a Californian, we hear about earthquakes so much that it's almost blasé to us. Because we are, that's just a part of living along that Ring of Fire. We're on the eastern part of the ring. So I don't know. And the thing is we got to turn to the men and women of science, the geophysicists, the seismologists, the volcanologists who are looking at volcanic activity that might also be triggered, and ask them, can they find links below the Earth's surface where these plates are sort of pushing against each other? Can volcanic activity be caused by a massive earthquake somewhere else? And there's a lot of theories and my dad and I explored some of that in Supervolcano, that the idea of the San Andreas Fault breaking at an 8 or above could possibly trigger a supervolcanic eruption, not at Yellowstone because there's too much distance to cover, but at a place called
Right.
Long Valley Caldera here in California. And unfortunately, my dad passed away 2 years ago from ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and we had wanted to write another book about he was working on a couple of things at the time. He was working on climate science and global climate change, and he was also working on a microquake theory that he and some of his colleagues were looking at to possibly, as a possible precursor to a supervolcanic eruption. Because the problem is the last supervolcano erupted over 28,000 years ago, so we don't have witnesses. So we cannot say, we can't say that we know exactly what happens to lead up to a supervolcanic eruption. It's a lot of looking at the geologic record, and it's a lot of guesswork and just, trying to put the pieces together and hope that we'll be able to predict one a little bit before it happens. But so whenever people get excited about activity at Yellowstone, and it could be a precursor to something, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just an earthquake swarm, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing beyond that. So it's really hard because, again, we're dealing with stuff that we don't have a written record or YouTube videos or cell phone footage of, because the last supervolcano happened so long ago.
Well, I live in Central Illinois, and so our big worry here is the New Madrid Fault.
Right, exactly.
That runs up along through, say, Louisville on up the Mississippi River up to St. Louis and maybe a little bit beyond. And I remember, I believe it was 62 or 63, 64. It was in the 60s. But an earthquake, the only earthquake I've been in that I recognized, and it was the New Madrid Fault doing a little dancing down there. But that was for that time. That was, let's see, 1801 or 1811. I can't remember. 18 something was when it really let loose. And and this is the central part of the United States, and it rang church bells in Boston.
Yeah. It was massive. It was huge, and people forget it because it happened such a long time ago, and they,
at least
because
there is some written record on it.
Right. And the thing is, there are earthquakes in that region. They may not happen with the same consistency, and they may not be as intense to keep people on their toes. But I think that's starting to change a little, and I think, some of us here in California are trying to say, even in New York, there's fault lines under Manhattan. Don't think that you're in any state that is immune to this, because there are fault lines that have yet to be discovered. In fact, I was living in Los Angeles at the time that the Northridge quake occurred.
Right, I remember that.
Burbank. Yeah, 10 minutes away. It was awful. We honestly thought we were going to die. That's how intense it was. We survived. But that was a fault line that nobody had found before. So we now have the threat of existing fault lines, but we also have the threat of those that may be so deep yet that they haven't, or they've never been active enough to get the attention of scientists. And that's scary. And I think it's just more evidence and proof that people need to be prepared for anything, not in a totally paranoid way where it really interferes with your life, but, be commonsensical about it. If you live in an area that has had earthquakes in the past, guess what? You may still have a few, and just kind of be a little prepared.
Well, that's why I keep reading. There was a good show on Discovery Channel or something about the New Madrid Fault, and I can't find it anywhere. It was an hour-long show, and it was just about this fault line. But like I said, I can't find it on YouTube. I can't find it anywhere. But anyway,
they might have made a DVD of it or something, because I know that they do that now and then, and so they don't have it online. You just have to buy the DVD. Yeah, because they did a great supervolcano show too that I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah.
My dad was like, "This is really good for being a little sensationalistic, obviously, but it was really well done." And
it was. Of course, the CGI wasn't Hollywood or anything, but still, it was very informational.
Yeah,
had a lot of good information.
Right, and they're trying to sort of present a realistic scenario, which my dad also tried to present in the book. We had sort of a fictional scenario of what it might look like if there was a super eruption. You know, what might happen before, what might happen during, and you know, what might happen after, which I think most people are interested in. And of course, it's impossible to say for sure, but you know, anytime anybody makes really good educated guesses, it helps. It helps people get prepared instead of being so afraid that they just sort of put their heads in the sand.
Exactly. Well, the thing that I remember most about this is I remember a quote that they said that the New Madrid fault is probably more dangerous than the oh crap, it just left my mind. The one out there, San Andreas fault, because it hasn't let go in so long, where there is so much pressure. But the New Madrid, say, you know, you know as well as I do how many times that shakes and rattles and rolls there.
Yeah.
So, but we haven't had that here. So it's like our time is coming.
You got a lot more to think about. It's just not something that's going to be a high priority on your mind until it happens, of course. And, you know, we don't, here in Southern California, we don't deal with hurricanes and tornadoes. And yet every now and then we do have one. And it just shows you that, you know, when it's not right in your face, you're going to just sort of forget that it's possible until it actually happens. And then, wow, everything changes. But, I mean, there have got to be fault lines under every state in this country, in this nation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why would there not be? And I'm sure that there's some that are very small. They're not going to do a whole lot of damage, but still, be ready.
Right. Well, yeah, because of the buildings here in the central part of the United States, say down in Memphis or St. Louis, I'm sure not until maybe the last 10 years, maybe 20 years, they worried about a volcano, an earthquake.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of destruction. I mean, there's so much.
Are they retrofitted? Do you know if, because you know, here in California they really have finished doing that fairly recently, and they're always trying to upgrade the retrofits according to new scientific information that comes out. Every time there's an earthquake, they learn more and more and more. But yeah, you know, and I mean, you guys have different types of weather too that your buildings need to kind of be prepared for, but. Yeah, it's crazy.
Right. Yeah, we know. But it's okay. Well, that's an older book. Let's talk about this one. Like I say, it's I cannot wait to get this book. I've put the link in our chat, so hopefully somebody's opened it up and looked through it. But you guys cover so much stuff. The Knights Templar, which is one of my favorite. I just noticed that's an interesting one. I love anything that has to do with like the Illuminati, any of the different stuff. But I just saw this, and I just don't know if I can even say this. Jumping Jesus.
Oh, the jumping Jesus phenomenon. It's a theory about how information may spread from one group to another, along with, I mean, really, this is a much different book than a lot of the other ones that Larry and I have written, because we seem to focus more on anomalies and paranormal and mysteries like that. But what really drove this book is the fact that we really are dealing in ideas and information as writers. And we began to ask ourselves, when we talk about things like the myths of, Greek, Roman, Norse myths, or Mayan and Mesoamerican myths, when we talk about religious texts, biblical stories, the Book of the Dead, what have you, when we talk about fairy tales and oral traditions and songs and ballads and nursery rhymes, and when we talk about art or architecture, is it possible that there was actual scientific knowledge and information or historical knowledge and information embedded in those means of expression that we now, thousands of years later, have to try to figure out? We have to try to decode what our past ancestors, whether they were the primitive times or more recent ancestors, might have been trying to tell us. Because if you look at how information is spread today on the internet, on social networking, the media, texting, emailing, whatever,
right.
We can actually look back in time to the past and apply some of the same ideas and concepts to how they may have spread information and how it got to us. And you're talking about, the Templars and the Rosicrucians and all these secret societies. Their job, at least one of the theories, is that their job was to spread hidden information that the religious and political authority figures of the time did not want made public. So you had to go underground. You had to join a secret society, and you had to count on those rituals or their writings or their initiations or what have you to pass that information down to those they felt were fit to hear it. And that's just one way that information got to us today. It got to us through their art. It got to us through cave drawings on the walls of caves with the most crude elements that they could use. It got to us on their rock art, and then later on, as we human beings became more sophisticated, our choices of expression did as well.
Right. I mean, 'cause you have, I'm just looking still on this page, talking about secret societies. I mean, you have Opus. It's Opus Dei, isn't it?
Opus Dei, yeah.
Opus Dei,
and a lot of these,
Opus Dei in there.
a lot of these
Skull and Bones.
Right. Some of them may have been started for kind of innocuous reasons. Others seem to have long historical roots. Others, like the Masons, the poor Masons, they get bagged on and called evil all the time, and yet the original Masons were a craftsman's organization.
Yeah.
But, over time it kind of morphed into this other entity that today we associate with a lot of conspiracies and a little more sinister means. But the thing is that when we're trying to figure out our history, we really have so little to go on, because the ideas and the information that have gotten to us from them is so scattered, has been misinterpreted, reinterpreted, hidden, suppressed, changed, altered, everything that you can think of as it's made its way thousands of years from them to us, so that we're now trying to construct our history with puzzle pieces that don't always fit together. And that's really why we wanted to write this book, because we thought, man, we really don't know our own history. Imagine all the information that was suppressed that never got to us about our history, about who we are, about how we evolved, and it just kind of really opened your eyes, like, wow, who are we? What did aliens have to do with all this?
Yeah. Well, look at the stuff about that's been information that's been repressed. The ancient giants that used to be here anywhere, but here in the United States, we got a big skeleton. Well, we got to take it away and hide it in the Smithsonian or dump it in the ocean or something.
Right. Well, anything that doesn't fit the original story that we were told, get rid of it.
Yeah, but if you go by original story, if you go back, say, Bible, if that's what you mean by the original story, because that's really not the only real good, well, no, it's real good. It might also be a myth.
Because the Bible that has made its way to us has been altered and rewritten and edited and changed, and for political reasons, for religious reasons, for whatever reason, sometimes for profit. Corporations, publishers have come up with the, kids' version of the Bible where things are literally rewritten. And so we have to try to find the origin point of everything. And that can be very difficult, especially if that original source material has been destroyed, burned, hidden, just disintegrated because of exposure to the elements or what have you, or it's hidden under the Vatican somewhere. We're operating with such a limited amount of information to try to figure out who the heck we are, where did we come from, how did we get here.
This is how would you categorize this book? I know that, I mean, because it has a little bit of, it's like everything you wanted to know. I mean, this would be someone like me that my mind is so full of useless information. This is a book that's just right up my alley, and I could really lose some friends over this, spouting off some of the stuff I know I would be able to remember in this book.
Yeah, and I mean, we get into the different theories, one of which is very popular right now, and that's the ancient alien, ancient astronaut theory, as to how civilization may have advanced, how information may have passed, how we got to be who we are, where we are. And I don't know, I mean, this is not a paranormal book, obviously. I don't think it's really, I think it's really more about our history and how we have utilized ideas and information through stories, through fiction, to try to convey deeper truths, to try to, like the Bible, for example, the stories in the Bible very well could have factual historical information about real events and real people. And this has caused controversy for decades and eons. The problem has become the proper interpretation of that information. It's almost impossible because everybody's got their angle, everybody's got their spin, and we're not looking at the original source material. So even if we do interpret it properly, we're not interpreting the source material. We're interpreting the interpretation of it. And, but still we have this drive to try to figure out, was there really a great flood? And, could there have been a guy named Noah who saved different species, maybe genetically or something? So what happens is you got to end up looking for common themes and common symbols and common elements in other writings. And with, say, the flood myth, the idea that, about 11,000, 12,000 years ago, something happened on the earth that caused the global flood. You have to look at, do we hear talks of the flood in other great stories? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. In other religious texts? Yes, we do. So then you're bringing in the scientific side of it, and you're saying, we've got 25 different texts and 25 different oral traditions and art for all over, that talks about a flood around this particular time. Guess what? There probably was a flood. And that's really what this book is about. It's like, is this the best way that we can figure our history out? By looking for the common symbols and themes and motifs in writing, art, architecture. Why are there thousands of pyramids all over the world? They're not just in Egypt or Bolivia. I mean, they're in South Korea, they're in China, they're in Greece, they're in America. They're, what is it about this particular shape that appealed to people to build their, and those are the things that we really wanted to look at, because we just thought, this is really cool. This is about putting the pieces together to the great puzzle of who we are and trying to find some of those pieces that are embedded in things we never thought they would be, like a fairy tale or an old song from, thousands of years ago.
Yeah, because, you're talking about the pyramids. Of course, we have the ones, the well-known ones in Egypt. We have the pyramids down in South America. There's, I don't know if it's not new, but it's getting a lot of press now because of everything that's going over there in the
Malaysia,
Ukraine,
Cambodia,
they're in
Mexico and Mayan country. They're everywhere. They're so similar. I mean, you have step pyramids that were used as tombs, as burial chambers and burial tombs that are built the same design as if somebody said, "Hey, here's our blueprint. Go ahead, go for it. Right, make a few of your own." And then we had the smooth-sided pyramids, and it really is an architectural achievement, because what it does is it puts the stability of the foundation at the bottom. Obviously, as you build up to a point, you're using less and less materials. So the pyramid shape is understood globally as a very stable shape for whatever it is you were going to use it for, to bury your dead, to have your, altered state of consciousness parties or whatever else they did in them. But the funny thing is that around similar times in history, they just proliferated. So how was that information getting across oceans and vast bodies of land? We didn't have the internet yet. We didn't have texting. We didn't have phones.
So it's kind of like that they don't people what am I trying to say? People don't want the word to get out is on all these things because they just don't want to take the time to research it and rewrite history. But luckily we have people that are out there that do this that are looking into these, have an open mind.
I mean, it would disrupt our educational system. It would disrupt the balances of power in this country. It would I think people's identities would be shaken. That's an important thing to think about, because we think, well, information is always suppressed for sinister reasons, kind of like UFO disclosure. Okay, whether or not there are UFOs out there and that they're aliens visiting us, the government is keeping that from us because they're mean and hostile. The government, not the aliens.
Yeah.
And, they're sinister and they're evil. Well, that may be the case, but it also may be that the government knows that the general public would go bonkers.
Can't handle it, yeah.
Human beings are not really emotional, stable people. But it could also be that they don't know anything more than we do. So there's all these different things that have to be looked at, and yet each one of them would turn our belief in our history and in who we are on its head. And that's not something that the powers that be really want to do for whatever reasons.
It's getting close, though. The closure is getting close, and of course, it's not going to be us that does it.
I don't think you can stop it now because of the internet and the availability of information now, and the availability of stuff to go global. I mean, I can message you and tell you something in 10 seconds, right? You're in a different state than I am. I can message a friend on Facebook in China, and 20 seconds later, they're spreading it to their friend in Peru. I mean, you can't stop the flow of information now. The only thing that the powers that be can do is muddy it up and water it down with misinformation and disinformation and propaganda and that kind of stuff. And then we're left to try to figure out what the heck is the real truth,
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to end up being maybe Russia or a South American country that gives us, or that brings it out that there is positive proof. I mean, there's there's little bitty tidbits, little snippets coming out. I don't know.
Do you wonder, Jim, if there was disclosure, don't you think a large part of the population would just not buy it? Because we're so untrusting of any announcement our government makes, right? There's always going to be conspiracy theorists that say no. What if they were telling us the truth? I think that there would still be millions of people who would not buy that truth. And that's really interesting to see how people would respond. I mean, if the president and, the Senate and the House of Congress were to literally do a press conference with aliens standing next to them, how many people would go on Facebook and say that was photoshopped or they altered the video and it was special effects. It didn't really happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would be interested to see what happened.
Now, with your book, out of your book, Viral Mythology, what's your favorite? I know you have a ton of different subjects here, but what would you say was the subject that when you thought of it, you really sunk your teeth into and put your all into it? In this book.
For me personally, I won't speak for Larry because I'm sure for him it might have been something different, but for me, I have always had a fascination with fairy tales. And, we all grew up on them. Now, we grew up, most of us, on the modified, sweet, nice versions, not the dark, sinister, hostile, grim fairy tales, the ones that really were meant to sort of scare the crap out of kids to get them to behave a certain way. So
right. Quit throwing
looking
around.
at, yeah, really, they were like behavioral, ways of altering children's behavior and sort of punish them with these creepy, scary stories. And so looking at them and trying to figure out, is there any historical information here that's, embedded in these stories? Are some of these fairy tales about real people but, fictionalized and given a fantastical name or character? Is a location, is there any truth at all? And the thing is, even if there's not surface truth, even if fairy tales are not talking about actual people or events, there are deeper subconscious archetypal truths that are so universal that fairy tales have become the powerful form of, passing on information that they have. They're still, Disney's still making movies of them, and then you've got the darker versions, and you've got Once Upon a Time, the TV series, and you've got, this new one coming out with, what's her name, Angelina Jolie, Maleficent or something, I don't know. But, we're fascinated by this stuff because on a deeper level, I think we know what it's trying to tell us. We may not get it consciously yet. And that's a different kind of truth than, Noah actually lived, and he stuck a couple of goats on a boat and some elephants, and, there's like two different kinds of truths that we're dealing with here.
It's funny you mentioned Noah. In May, I have a gentleman, his name's Larry Stone. He wrote Noah, the Real Story. He's going to be on the show.
Yeah.
And he's... he has a lot of ideas about Noah, the real story. So that's that's always going to be the whole, like we mentioned just a little bit ago, the whole Bible. Now listen, don't get me wrong. I'm Southern Baptist. I believe I've been baptized. I believe in God. I accept Jesus Christ as my Savior. But there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of hard to wrap your head around in the Bible, and that goes along with everything being handed down. It's like that game we used to play when we were kids, or at least I did. You're probably not old enough to play this game, but it was called telephone, where you'd sit in a circle and you'd say a phrase and you'd tell it to your neighbor or the guy sitting next to you, and see what it is when it finally gets back to you. It's nothing like it started out to be. So,
and that's a really good example of how information can get distorted just from one person to maybe a third or fourth person. So you can imagine over thousands of years how that information got distorted. It's just a natural, I think it's a natural process that happens when you have even with oral traditions, whether it's written tradition, the next person in line is going to put their own spin on it. They may not even know they're doing it. They could be rewriting things just from their own perception that's a little bit skewed, a little bit different, and then that takes off, and that becomes the new story that gets passed down. You do that enough times, you're not really going to have anything close to the original version.
Nope. And if I remember my biblical history, which probably I don't, you're talking the first story in the Bible was written 600 years after it actually happened.
Right. So, that's a lot of time to not know facts.
Right now, if you go back 600 years, you're not going to have an accurate story at all. So, it's going to be a bunch of...
And it's up to our historians and anthropologists and archaeologists, what have you, to try to interpret what they have. It's like you got to work with what you have. It may not be the best information out there, but that's all you have to work with.
Exactly. Now, you're also writing some books along with your son. Is that correct?
We have written one book. It's the first in a series. It's a middle grade, so it's for ages like 7 to 12, 7 to 13. And it's called Echo, Evil Kid Hunting Organization. And it's a fictional story. It's like a little bit of a sci-fi bent, but it's really based on a real organization that my son started, a spy group, when he was in elementary school to fight bullies, to sort of fight off bullying, and just a real creative way that he and his friends came up with to keep an eye on bullies and sort of stay one step ahead of them. And I just, as his mom, it was like, oh, my God, that's the coolest thing ever. That would be a really cool book. And, people
it's almost like a superhero.
You got to write that. Yeah, it's really cool. And it was fun. Now mom and son. It's like I wrote a book with my dad. So it's only natural to write a book with my son, pass it on. But it's real fun. And so we're working on book 2.
Well, that's neat to hear that you're... I'm sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it's fun to write fiction because, as far as I'm concerned, there is almost more truth to be found in novels and fiction and movies and TV shows sometimes than there is in nonfiction because, you really want to get an idea of the human experience. Sometimes fiction is more truthful, and you get that sort of deeper stuff that you don't get in a book that is full of statistics and, just pure information. So it's really kind of cool because Larry and I are also working on our first fictional project, and it's called Gridwalkers. And what we're doing is we're taking our nonfiction book, The Grid, which came out in October of last year, and we're going to take some of the research and the science and the theories that we wrote about, and we're going to put it into a fictional setting, a story. And we're going to have fun with it. But we're going to, we just thought this is really cool because it's a different way of conveying information and ideas through fiction, through storytelling, through fairy tales, through nursery rhymes, through songs and ballads. And, we got to assume that our ancestors like to entertain themselves just the way we do. Why wouldn't they? They didn't have video games and Netflix, but they sat around the fire, and told stories, and they sang, and they conveyed personal truths about their lives through those modes.
Yeah.
So it'll be really fun.
Now, with everything that you've researched, what would you say is the most? I guess I could put this 2 different ways, but the biggest game-changing event that happened in the United States, that happened in the U.S.
It's, if we're going to go back over history, I would say, let's just say the last 100 years.
Okay, that make it out.
Or not even that. To me, I think there are different types of events. I think the Kennedy assassination, literally, the moon landing, those are things that took us from one level of existence to another. With the Kennedy assassination, I think the innocence of America was forever changed. With the moon landing, I think we became, we became more than just global. We became planetary, and now the Mars rover. You go back and the invention of the printing press and the telephone, computers, there's so many different things. 9/11, I would say, but I think that that just sort of amplified a lot of fears and paranoias that we had. Yeah. But in a sense, it did amplify it enough. So yes, it definitely did change who we are. I'm waiting to see what changes us next, and I hope it's a positive, good thing.
I think we're due for one.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the things that have really changed us as human beings have been challenging, destructive, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger kind of things. But I think we're due for something really fun and cool, and maybe it'll be an alien,
I hope so.
Showing up on TV, and hey guys, who wants to go for
maybe
a ride?
They open up a ride at Six Flags or something. But
there you go, yeah. But
that'd be
think,
cool. You mentioned the moon landing.
What do you think? What event do you think? If you had to choose one, go ahead. You'll see how hard it is.
I would have to agree with you on the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
Because I remember sitting at home, and we were putting it. It was during the funeral part, though. We were putting up our Christmas tree.
Right.
And sitting there putting up the Christmas tree, And, you know, that was always supposed to be a fun time. We're putting up the Christmas tree and stuff.
Right.
And it wasn't, because there's the funeral going on.
Everything, yeah.
And that's all that was on TV, you know, for weeks, of course.
Right.
I would have to agree with you on the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah. I'm thinking, you know, for like my son's generation and the generation after that won't be the case for them. I'll be real curious to see what their defining moments are in terms of world events, or, you know, just what makes history.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be real curious. But I think that the last 50, 100 years, we had a lot of things that happened, and some were really good, and some weren't. But, you know, we're still here. Yeah. We survived December 21st, 2012. We're still here, you know. So we just
so far,
how many apocalypses have we survived, you know? Y2K.
Oh, yeah, in 2012.
Yeah,
that big one.
See when the next one is. Somebody's going to come out with another date, you know it. But
well, this year, let's see. I think it's next month. We have, it might be, I think it's April or May, that we have a bunch of full moons, which isn't regular. Someone might want to check that.
Yeah.
But I think we have like 3 or 4 blood moons next month.
Oh, boy. You know, there'll be some predictions for that. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah. People have a death
so that might be the next. Yeah, just leave well enough alone. Don't be making stuff up.
Just let it go.
It's bad enough.
Good Lord.
Bad enough having to worry about this. Well, we got like 7 minutes left of the show. You want to tell? First of all, I want to thank you again very much for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
How can people get a hold of you? Where can people get your books? I don't know if it's just only through Amazon, but
all that good stuff.
All the closing spiel stuff.
Yeah, you know, the books are sold brick and mortar bookstores, online bookstores. I know they're sold at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. And people can always ask their local bookstores to order because they need the business. You know, the brick and mortar bookstores are dropping like flies, and it's so sad. We have some websites. Larry mentioned his group website, ourpast.org. And his personal website is larryflaxman.com. Very easy to remember. Larry and I have a website together called Para Explorers, kind of a play on word, Para of Explorers. P-A-R-A, paraexplorers.com. And my website is mariedjones.com. And we are on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, too. So we're pretty easy to get a hold of.
Okay. Well, that's very, very cool. Now, if I want a book of yours that's autographed, how would I go about that?
Well, it depends. I mean, Larry and I rarely speak together just because we're at different parts of the country, but we do have we have an event in October for anybody who lives in the Minneapolis area. You know, sometimes when we speak together, we can sign them. Larry speaks all over the place, so he's easy to get a signature from. I'm in Southern California, but we always say if people want both of our signatures, they have to go the hard way, which means buy the book, mail it to Larry, he'll sign it, he'll send it to me, I'll sign it, and then I'll mail it back to you. And we'll do that, you know, we'll do that because people like to have signed books, but it's just we don't get to be at the same events very often. So you should get some pre-signed book plates or something. But, yeah, I mean, we can always figure a way out to do that.
Okay, yeah, because I'm definitely, the Viral Mythology is definitely on my list. I gotta get this book.
I think you'll like it because, I mean, you know, you deal in information and ideas. So I think you'll get you'll get a big kick out of a lot of it. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I never thought of that.
Well, it could be a reference book for a show like this. So
yeah, and it really does kind of open your eyes as to how we're creating the viral mythology of tomorrow, today, and what are we passing down? You know, what kind of information and ideas are we passing along the line? So,
all right, you know, because
we don't think about that
all
kind
this
of
information. No, and you think about we'll just say Facebook.
Right.
I have, say, 3,000 friends, and if I post something, not everybody sees what I post because I post a lot, so I'm sure I'm hidden by a lot of people. But if someone likes it, then one of their friends is going to see it. I mean, it's all over the United States.
Right.
It's all over the world.
Right.
It doesn't take long for something to go viral.
You can post a completely fabricated story or a Photoshop picture, and I guarantee you before an hour is up, you're going to have people saying, "Oh my God, this is real," and they're passing it on, and they're passing it on.
Oh my God, yes.
Nobody's ever really bothering to look at where the source information is, And I've seen that happen before my eyes. I've seen parody articles that were treated as though I've done it myself early on, and now I really try to catch myself.
Yeah, I know. I like to do a little investigating before.
Yeah, what power we have to have such reach.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of power that we have now. Yeah, that our ancestors didn't have.
Where did this technology come from, too?
Yeah, that's another
Where did it come from so quick?
Yeah, was it given to us from an outside source?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly extraterrestrial? Did we develop it ourselves? Did we have geniuses like, we've got the Einsteins and the Teslas and the Edisons and Ben Franklin, and we've got those brilliant people all throughout history, but some of the great leaps of advancement in technology and scientific knowledge and medical knowledge, even in art and architecture, did they come from us or were we assisted? And that's one of the things that we write about, too, the different theories as to how that might have happened, including extraterrestrial intervention.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much out there.
Yep.
There's so much out there. We just gotta wrap our heads around it and either believe it or not. And yeah, as a matter of fact, today I got into an argument, and I feel bad. I apologize to the guy afterwards. He was talking about we got to make this quick because we're down to a couple minutes. But he was talking about the moon landings not being real, and I kind of lit into him, and I felt bad afterwards, and I apologized to him. But anyway, I got 90 seconds left. She just told me in my ear. So, Marie, thank you very, very much for being on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you, and we're going to have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having Larry and I on. We really appreciate it.
Hey, it was a blast. You have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, real quick, next weekend, or next Tuesday on the 18th, my guests are going to be Miss Lindsay Johnson. She's a friend here from Central Illinois. We're going to be talking about cemetery restoration. And my other guest is going to be Debbie Branning. She is from Phoenix, Arizona. She is a paranormal investigator, and I believe she also reviews books and stuff. I'm really looking forward to this show next week. Thank you all very much for listening tonight. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And buy this book, Viral Mythology, by Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman. You will love this book. If you're a geek, you're going to love this book. Y'all have a good evening. Love y'all. Good night.